Good morning, everyone. It is indeed a great pleasure to welcome you all for this short webinar. You are all aware that IIRM is the institute promoted by IRDAI, envisioned to be a center of excellence, enriching the insurance ecosystem with knowledge creation, knowledge development, and knowledge dissemination. To achieve this purpose, IIRM is actively collaborating with the industry in enhancing the skill sets of the human resources available in the sector. As part of the initiative to reach out to the functionaries in the insurance sector, IIRM has first identified intermediaries as an area of intervention. Insurance sector's sustainability and growth largely depends on the broker segment. They ensure that the products reach to the customers in accordance to the customer requirements. However, the divide with the segment is quite large and which needs to be bridged for a seamless growth of the segment. Today, technology has invaded our life. Whether we like it or not, one needs to embrace technology for their own survival. The advantages of being a tech-savvy enterprise needs no explanation, but one needs to look at the ways an organization can leverage technology for its growth, achieved through enhanced customer base with increased customer satisfaction. This in line with the current focus of our regulator, where there is a paradigm shift in the thought process that is from regulation to development. Let me reiterate our chairman's vision. By the year 2047, every citizen in the country should have a life cover, health cover, and a cover of dwellings. To achieve this vision, it is necessary that the insurance sector need to reinvent itself in the way it is conducting its activities and innovate appropriate products to meet the requirements of a wide range of customers. Realizing this first step in the direction of achieving this vision, the chairman has initiated a number of reforms which will help every player in the sector to progress further. The ease of doing business norms have been further modified, thereby enabling a wide range of players to be part of the ecosystem. As per the latest Sigma report, insurance penetration in India needs a quick boost, which can be achieved only through the technological interventions. As far as the brokers are concerned, renewal of license and making it a perpetual license definitely is a welcome move, which makes a broker focus on his business year-on-year basis rather than running around for renewals. Our chairman has publicly mentioned many such initiatives which are made all the players to stand up and start working in the direction. Further, by easing the capital norms, entry of more and new players have been facilitated. We can look forward to different category of players offering a plethora of products suiting an individual requirement and their capabilities. The recent proposal to for a single limit of management expenses in insurance business is a path-breaking one. So that means that there will be no limit on agency commission or the brokerage. Now it is clear that the insurance sector will never be same, and it is up to the companies to see this opportunity to sustain themselves in the ever-changing ecosystem. One such example post-pandemic is the introduction of Atmanirbhar Bharat program, where there are many individuals who have come up with their own business for which the government is extending support. While it is strengthening the entrepreneurial environment, however, it also gives an opportunity to look at the risk coverage of these entities. Today, the global players agree that the growth in any sector is in the SME segment. So it is now mandatory for all the companies in the insurance sector to focus on SME segment and come up with an appropriate products to meet their requirements. I am sure that you are keeping track with the reforms IRDAI has initiated during the past few months, more specifically for the broking community. Adding to the change is the quick absorption of insurtech in the sector. Many tech companies are keen to bring in technology solution to enhance the performance, productivity, and the profitability. IIRM has partnered with one such startup company, GoSure, to develop appropriate tech-based solutions for risk management. Today, we would like to bring you close to the technology initiative where a broker can continuously monitor its risk profile of their customers and come up with a meaningful solution for risk mitigation. In today's webinar, we will have Dr. Mohan Vudali looking at the risk management and its scope, Ms. Preeti Das focusing on the need to technological absorption and adaptation, and Mr. Ram Kuppa presenting on how technology can be a game changer for brokers. Post these sessions, we will have question answer sessions where we will address your queries related to the topic. We request everyone to use the chat box to post your questions, which will be duly answered. Thank you. Dr. Mohan, please.
Thank you, sir. It's nice to interact with all the brokers today and talk about parametric risk sensitization. Actually, going into this little topic, let's understand the business we are in. And we all understand that as a broker, we are in the insurance business, trying to be a bridge between a customer and an insurance company. And everybody knows at the regulator level and various players in the insurance also that their growth is also insurance sector growth. But how do we achieve this growth? I mean, how can you ensure that we are growing and at what pace we are growing? Well, every time we keep hearing that insurance penetration is poor, we need to do a lot in terms of how we are going to achieve this so-called insurance penetration. Let's get into the basic understanding of in terms of insurance and how do we ensure penetration. We all are clear that insurance is a risk mitigation tool. So when we talk about penetration, that means if we are making customers aware of the risk, then there will be talking in terms of how we can mitigate that risk through insurance. So this is where we would like to make you understand, rather know that how parametric risk sensitization will help in terms of getting the penetration. In other words, what do you mean by penetration? Penetration is all about, are we having more number of customers in terms of increasing our customer base? We at our institute, we are already started working in the parametric insurance domain with basically hitherto world over. This parametric insurance is mostly restricted to the governmental agencies in terms of a specific payouts which are given for any of those incidents or events which are happening. Normally in the climate risk area, floods and agriculture and other areas. Now we have taken up a challenging assignment with the Sundargarh, with Orissa government, with the DMF fund in Sundargarh and Orissa district, where we are mapping through satellite imagery the entire cropping pattern over a period of time and trying to assess what kind of a risk that they will be having over a period of time, so that tomorrow if anything comes up from a public point of view in terms of crop insurance or anything, government can answer specifically what could be a likely payout to be. How it is happening? It's happening because with all the data that is being collected online on a real-time basis, we are actually putting them into certain indexes, which will help to develop a risk index later on, which will tell us how much we can actually give up in terms of this particular area, which is always a pain point politically and for the entire government when it comes to crop insurance schemes and things like that. Second, one more area where we are actually looking at is one more project in terms of health, where it is about oral cancer. We are mapping the entire district population who are under the risk of this, because this is one of the highest incidents of oral cancer which is there in the entire country. And here we are using technology in terms of screening through thermal screening developed by IIT Kharagpur, and we are trying to assess what is the risk that each individual goes through in terms of health, which will also tell what interventions government can do to this particular community, especially below the line poverty people and all that, in terms of saving from the so-called fatality called cancer. Now again, here two things which are actually helping us here is the technology. So second, if people want to accept whatever interventions we are doing, that means they should be aware of the risk. How are you going to make them accept whatever you're saying you are into risk? That just saying you are under risk, therefore take insurance product, nobody will take it. We have to make them understand what level they are into risk. Second, how do you make them accept whatever you're proposing as a risk? This is where technology will come into picture. It is transparent. It is easy for them to understand to a level where they themselves also tomorrow, if we can make them score or rather rate their own risk profile properly. Typically, this happens in health, where post-pandemic, everybody in the insurance sector are very happy that yes, it is happening. That in the health insurance sector, there is a lot of awareness, lot of sensitization of people taking different type of health insurance policies, self and also group insurances. I think there is a quantum leap in the group insurance policies by all the companies in terms of post-pandemic. Now, this has happened because the risk sensitization of all the individuals and also the companies, especially in the SME segment, where they could see the productivity and the kind of efficiency which got badly affected through the pandemic, and they understood that yes, they need to intervene, do something to their employees in terms of health. So these are the two classic examples which we have today to understand that we have no other option than to start thinking about how do I make my clientele, my customers understand the risk they are going to be in terms of variety of parameters of their businesses. That's where we as an institute are working into developing these kind of indexes under various codes. We have an incubation center at our place where we are looking specifically at the risk parameters of the various in the SME segment on about employees, property, infosec, suppliers, cyber. These are the various dimensions where we are saying. So tomorrow that if I say this is a kind of a risk score or an index, they should be able to some basis. So we are doing extensive research on it so that it is widely accepted. We'll be publishing papers on that and all that so that industry can take it as a norm, as a benchmark. There is no dispute later. Insurance companies also tomorrow can take it. Like today we take Swiss Re as a Sigma report as a benchmark for a variety of insurance related issues. Now this will also be one of such. Maybe tomorrow big companies may take it up as a lead. So this is where we are working. So now coming back, I can just tell you a simple example how when we do this mapping of risks and various parameters will help our company. When we just go back to the health related aspect, please. Yeah. See, health profile we have for the employees. Let's say we a company, a small company would like to, irrespective of the number of size, would like to take a particular group insurance scheme. How do they go about it? They can say number of employees, this one, then go over it. No, it doesn't help. Because he will be hesitant to how much of the payout that's going to happen for the company. So he'll be hesitant. So if you say that, okay, we have a tool where it will help us to understand each and every employee's health profile by defined parameter. Let's not include any new parameters. Just have a defined parameter which are available and known to everyone. Where an individual himself, we will ask the employee to rate it. What is his lipid profile? What does the lipid profile after a particular level means to him? What is his heart rate and what does it mean to him? So if he rates himself, this is what is my level in terms of my health and my lifestyle and all that, we can definitely tell what is the risk that he's going to incur later on down the line as far as health is concerned. What are the health risks are? Now, if you map all of them and if you have a tool which will tell and you can segregate them into certain clusters, maybe 2 clusters or a 3 cluster, high risk, low risk, and certain other risk, a very good, and whatever the risk parameters in terms of assessment, what will happen? Now, you don't have to have an umbrella group insurance scheme. You can categorize them into different schemes, into different categories where the high risk people will have a different kind of health insurance policies for them, whereas the people with very good health score, that means they are not at that risk, they may not have to go through a high premium. So that way the company is benefited. Then we can now, from an insurance perspective or from a broker's perspective, you are able to address this issue of what is the payout, how much is the premium. You don't have to compromise on trying to work out how do you fit everybody within the premium space and things like that. So it is ease of business, improving business, customer satisfaction, everything can be achieved by just absorbing certain tools and going through the parametric risk sensitization. I think that's what I would like to contribute. Let you understand how tool will help you. I think I will go to Preeti on that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohan, and a fantastic presentation by both you, Mr. Mathur and Mr. Mohan. Good morning to everybody. Thank you for joining this webinar, which I'm also finding very, very informative as we are going along. Couple of things that I just would like to take a cue from Mr. Mathur's and Mr. Mohan's saying, and add one more point to that, is that 250,000 crores of premium probably will be the approximate ending by ending of March this year, coming year, this financial year, which is March 23, is what we are expected to underwrite through the year. And what Mr. Mathur just said is that the vision is to take it to the entire 140 crore population. That vision is huge, considering that we are around 3% of penetration and expecting to take it to that level in the next maybe 20, 25 years. It's a huge task set out for all of us to make that happen. And it is not going to happen automatically unless we plan for that. That is number one. The second thing is that the broking community today contributes 30% of that premium. And it's already known that this is going to be substantially higher in the coming years. So which are the areas typically, and I'm sure when we talk to you all, we know that it will be played mostly in the commercial lines of general insurance and maybe in large commercial businesses or mid-sized commercial businesses, or maybe even small ones. The point is, how do we expand and cover that space? Retail, I guess, will always happen through DIY, which is do-it-yourself mode, which mostly insurance companies will go through. There will be definitely some play by the brokers. So I'll come to the straight point right now. The idea of over here is democratizing the technology. And as I go through that, I think I'll just like to talk about a sample survey that was conducted by IIRM. And what the brokers had to say about it was that the control on revenue churn is what almost 70% of the brokers were worried about. For new business, 90% of the brokers, while some could control churn in some forms, the new business was an issue. How do you do that at scale? The third was expand to affinity, to affinity partners. That was about 15%. And the last one, which is extremely important, is expand POS network, a point of sale network. And the concern there was, are we using enough technology to make that happen? Because this is not going to happen by pure physical means. And today's world, I think, will involve what you call phygital, physical plus digital. And that's the world that we will be talking about shortly. Interestingly, there was, and I don't need to harbor this more, but worldwide, there is this metrics. And if you can see through this chart, that is a 2x2 matrix. There are 4 groups in which we can divide any industry, and more so the insurance industry and the broking community. Let us stick to the broking community for now. If you see the top right quadrant, which says masters. Masters actually means folks who are very good in both their operating margins and growing year on year, and also growing the CAGR on revenue. Now, that's a unique position to be in, and that's really, really important for everybody to reach there. But is everybody in that quadrant? The next is the one below it, which is survivors, who actually are good on their operating margins, but probably flat on the revenues and maybe going down slightly. Then you have the strugglers, who are in the left bottom quadrant. And the strugglers are the ones who are probably both low on both, whether it's the operating margins or it is the CAGR of revenues. And then there are these silver people who are doing well on revenue, but not so great on operating margins. And that there could be multiple reasons. There could be issues of price war. There could be issues of how much of technology is being used. It's not just technology, it's multiple things. But technology can be a fast way to achieve it. If you look at the revenue growth is a factor, as you can see on the left side, it's a factor of how low the churn is or how much of renewals one is able to manage and stop the fallout, and then do new business. It's a given. And then the second one is profit, as you can see on the chart. I'm not going to belabor each and every of these points, but I think one of the things is how can we get innovative about this? Before I go on to the next slide, I'd like to talk through some scenarios that are in the market. More and more, you push things that a customer can do to them, which you call do it yourself to the customer. The more operational efficiency happens at the end of the seller, which in this case is the brokers. I'll give you an example. Today, the SIM card penetration in our country is 95%. And the smartphone penetration is above 75%, growing day by day, because you would have noticed what a smartphone used to cost us earlier has become much, much lesser with refurbished phones and the cost of production, etc., coming down. Now, another example that, and I'll explain why. More and more people are sensitive to technology. They understand. Even 80-year-olds today are using technology to do their own stuff. So it is not as if our customer cannot do it. We have to empower our customers to take over a lot of the workload that is being taken by the brokers themselves. Let's take an example of the banking world. I'm sure some of you who are my age group will remember 30 years ago, we used to have teller sitting in a bank. And there would be huge queues, very slow service. You want to withdraw even $500 of cash, you have to stand in the same queue as any other person who probably wants to withdraw 10,000, 20,000 rupees. But how democratization happened, you created an ATM, and the ATM is what every customer went and did their own work themselves. As we move forward into this presentation, you will realize how DIY really impacts us, from the broker community, I mean, by increasing more and more workloads that can be performed by the customer themselves so that the cost can be reduced and the operating margins of a broker can be increased. Do we believe that that can be done? Is it possible to train so many customers to do that? Absolutely, if you use technology, not otherwise. And so let me now get to the revenue growth mode. I think today with the pie not growing at the pace at which the chairman's vision is being laid out for, how does one do that? And if we look at certain spaces, they can be extremely contributory, which are untouched till now, and have the ability to use technology to scale up big time. So if we look at the MSME business, let me give some data points on MSME business. First, the total number of MSMEs in March 22 were 7.9 million. Some of the surveys that were conducted by industries shows that very, very little of them are actually insured, unless mandatory. Other than mandatory, nobody has done a risk profiling on themselves, and that has led to more and more sensitization of need for insurance, more so after the pandemic happened, as Mr. Mohan was talking about. Every single MSME founder and its stakeholders require insurance of different forms. And rendering that is not going to be easy if we were to go to every small Tom, Dick and Harry MSME and expect that to be done as an advisor. So how does one do that? And that's one question on the table. The second point is that the MSMEs CAGR between 19 and 20 has grown at 19%, and it has grown much faster since then. So obviously it has probably reached 25%. I don't have actual data, but having talked to MSME business ministry, that gives me a sense that it is definitely higher than that. The third point, which is very important, is total loans distributed by MSME in the year FY21 were 9 trillion INR. That's a huge, huge number. And mostly it is noticed that every time a loan is disbursed, an insurance becomes a kind of necessity that gets clubbed with that. That's an opportunity. It might not have been used till now, but it can be clubbed. So I'm just sensitizing everybody to the point that there is a market out there that can be managed through the use of technology and can be captured much faster. And then comes, there is a 40% increase in the CAGR from FY20 to 21 in the loans distributed. And this is only going to increase. Why am I saying that? Because clearly in Prime Minister Modi's communication, he's talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat. And Atmanirbhar Bharat is directly linked to MSMEs. So there comes the story of penetration. And it need not only be the retail business, which is what we spoke about earlier, that everybody should have those 3 insurances, that Mr. Mathur spoke about, but also extend it to the MSME business. And why is it so similar to the retail business is because this also uses packaged products. So the new products that are coming up and on the anvil are all InsurTech products. And InsurTech products will require one to be technologically enabled in order to disburse them across MSMEs or even retail. Retail has been captured quite well by this, but what do you do about increased penetration? And for MSMEs to cover what we have today itself will require technology to be taken care of. So if we were to look at, the overall story, I think one needs to start thinking differently than what was being done today. The amount of domain expertise that sits with this, this community of brokers is huge, sometimes even better than the insurance companies. And I think that needs to be leveraged to combine with technology to democratize technology and make high revenues, remove churn, increase business, and create excellent operating margins. And the ones who will be in that space will definitely be more the masters that I showed on that page. If we can just go back to that page, you see on the right side, will be the more wanted partners of the insurance companies in times to come. World is not going to remain the way it is today. In the next 5 years, the demographics will change. More and more circulars, more and more regulations will come that will force everyone to get on to the green box at the top right. Whether you take the route from, bottom, you go horizontal and then go vertical, or you go vertical and then go horizontal. It doesn't matter. Whatever route you take, one has to reach that green box. And that should be the aim for this team. And we are all here to help all of you. That is why this team has gotten together. So thank you very much. It was lovely talking to all of you. And we'll expect to have some questions during Q&A. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. This is Rama here. Good to see you all here. It was fantastic start by Mr. Mathur, taken over by Mr. Mohan, and then by Preeti. It's a fantastic stage that is set for me to take over from here and give you what it means to brokers and how this team sitting out here can handhold you. If you may be a struggler, survivor, or shooting star, to reach and be the master. I will again reiterate the statement what Mr. Mathur has presented, and it's a chairman's vision of increasing the insurance penetration in Indian market. How it can be done? It is all in the hands of us as a broker community to drive the success of Mr. Chairman's vision. As it's a simple math, if we are serving, say, 100 corporates today, to achieve the Chairman's vision, we have to serve nothing less than 10x of what is our current capacity is. So if you are serving 100, you have to serve 1,000. If you are serving 1,000, you have to serve 10,000. So that is how the capacity increase has to happen. When you say the capacity increase has to happen to achieve the chairman's vision, which is ultimatum for all of us, the first and foremost thing is, how do we do that? If you look at from the same team increase, operational cost, decreasing revenues, decreasing percentage commissions, so on and so forth, there are enough challenges around us as well. So where do we come from? So how do we help together? This is one of the fantastic things I would like to bring it onto the table over this conference to you all, is when we were initially discussing with Mr. Mathur and the IIRM team, the first thing that came out of us was, how do we democratize the technology? How do we play an inclusive game than being an exclusive stuff? The inclusive game is what will make brokers like you get empowered with the technology that is needed, handhold the thing that is getting done. And also the research stuff that what Mr. Mohan was talking about will definitely help to empower each one of us. I would like to join the community of what you are today. And this research, what is happening at IIRM in terms of parameterizing the risk elements and ensuring that the risk elements or risk parameters have been streamlined so that everything is in line with the discussion agenda that we have. So this is what made an exciting story today, where as IIRM, which is an institute which is more focused on insurance and risk aspects of the business, inclusive aspect of it with the broker community to drive the knowledge that they have into the technology and push it to the broker community. See, as Preeti was mentioning, so end of the day, everybody has to be moving to this masters as a greener box, and everybody would like to see, themselves to be a master. But today, the parameters of the game are changing dynamically. To move from a struggler to a master, or a difference between a master and a struggler is called technology. And just on a number's sake, if you are using technology, 70 to 90% of your operations and sales are happening through technology, you eventually be reaching out right on the top, which is a master. And again, the same is true when you are a struggler. You are not using technology, you're going to be struggling. The market capture opportunity that is going to be multi-folded in the next year or so. Again, 20 to 50%, you will be still a surveyor. 50 to 70% is still a shooting star. And we would like to see everybody to be at 70 to 90. This is again, when there is a democratizing of technology that happens, and every broker has all the technology that is required to scale up their operations, scale up their business revenue growth and profit growth right there. So everybody is on the level playing ground. And the parameters then, which is going to impact, is the skill and the will to be a unicorn by yourself. So that is the model in which we are going to position ourselves. We are going to handhold the journey from here to the next degree of growth, which is like a 10x growth, which we would like to see at every broker level. Looking at that, again, we don't want to say that, hey, there is a 10x growth opportunity and now you keep jumping onto it. But no, we have done our research in terms of identifying what actually your corporates or businesses community is looking out. See, currently, there is no option for businesses, either they switch from broker 1 to broker 2 and still manage the show, or they hire the risk managers at there and try to map the story. But if we look at the strengthening the broking ecosystem, the way we see it is understand the problems of your customer. If we engage with your customer better, you have the technology, right technology to empower. IIRM would like to shake hands with the broker and empower the customer of yours. And if you look at from the what corporate customer angle is, you have a pro servicing, 78% of the customer says, hey, we are going to switch the broker. If there is a problem with a claim settlement, I don't want to say it's a smaller claims, they ignore it, but if there's a major claim, 37% of the people say that if there is a problem with the claim settlement, they're going to shift the broker. The third one is more exciting, which is actually growing the numbers. Inadequate risk sensitization. ये broker ने मुझे बताया नहीं था, इसलिए मुझे पता नहीं है. So next broker told something that is which is very exciting, so they immediately move to the next broker. So inadequate risk sensitization is actually growing its volume. Of course, the product availability, others, that is again a challenge that we need to address through skill and improvisation. But taking the top 3 parameters, poor servicing, problems with the major claims, claim management activities, or inadequate risk sensitization as a 3 major areas which are going to drive your corporate or the customer satisfaction is the base of the journey for us. As we move along, let me not talk the story along. I will take directly to the demo. But before the demo, I would like to say what it means. What is mean? I told you, like, if you want to be a struggler, you're at 0 to 20. If you want to be at a different stage, you want to adopt to say 30% of your adaptability towards technology is the first step. But what is that first 30% of the technology? It is set your internal things right. When you set your internal things right, you are at 30% of the technology adoption. When I say internal things, you need a lead management system. The leads that are coming into your system, you need to prioritize the leads. If it is SME, how that has to be handled. If it is an enterprise, how that has to be handled. Your internal sales operations, the pre-sales activities has to be streamlined well, so that as a broking owner, when you look at the gamut of your leads and their opportunity value, you should be able to take it at a snap of a finger. So that will give you an overall picture of growth that you are looking at. The second most important thing is, once the lead is being converted to an account, how are you managing that customer? Currently, if you look at the lead to account conversion, the moment it is converted to an account, can they post the tickets that they have, or can they post their inquiries that they have over a tech stack, so that they can understand what is the tat of their communication? So lead management to the account conversion to the ticket management system, which will ensure there is a communication that is happening between internal processes and a first leg of customer. Set things right, you are at a 30% of your tech journey. So let me take a quick break here and try to shift myself to the tech stack that we are talking about, so that we both are on the same page of what I'm talking about. Just give me a second. Let me quickly jump onto this. If you are on this, so every broker would be having something of this sort, where they will have a complete lead management system. I will not take much time on this. I'll just run you through. There is a lead module, there is an account module, there is a ticketing module that we are going to get. And in the lead module, if you observe, when the lead comes and lands on your screen, they will be on the new lead value, and then it goes to the prospecting and the workflow of your lead management, right from the new lead to the prospecting to finally the contract one, is all can be organized at a single snapshot view. And if you observe here, there is something called lead value, which is waiting here. So if the lead value is high on the negotiations, you want to do something out there, providing a discount and all, that can all be improvised here. Again, this will help you in the decision making. It is not forcing you to do that, but it will help you in the decision making of how your internal roles of your business, it can be a business user or a broking user role, can manage the entire system of leads out here. The moment you see a lead, I'll just quickly click on a negotiations done lead or a contract sent lead. I'll just go here. There are around 3 leads which are in a contract sent. You click on this and observe that this is a list of all the communication that has been done on this particular lead. Either now you want to click on the contract one and the contact lost. You click on a contract one. The moment you click on the contract one, you just create an account with all the data that you have. Now this you see here, there's a 133, which is again a test data. You can add your support contact details. You can add your support sales contact details, submit this. So that automatically from lead, it gets created to account. The moment you get created it as an account, you go here, understand what it means as an account for you. Again, the restrictions on tech, everything can be there. What is the loss estimate of this particular guy? What is the outstanding resource on this particular guy? So basically, if you observe from a standpoint of an account, you would see how many accounts are in the new state, how many are tech onboarded as a dedicated server, shared server. I'll talk in depth of this later, but you talk about if you have a premium customer, you want to have a dedicated server for them. If you don't want, if you're a normal customer, you can be on a shared server. But I'll not take much time on the tech side here. But if you observe what I wanted to show, in the moment it is converted from a lead to account, you get into an account here. And you can actually control that account by creating tickets or everything that you want as a communication. So here also the account owner will also have access to this particular technology, so that they can go here and try to add a ticket for your internal business, which might be a claim or an endorsement or whatever it is. So technically, if there is an endorsement on a policy, they can just click on this and say, what is the total ticket summary and what is the priority of it. I'm just doing this for which is it is assigned to a ticket owner and all. So technically, once you do this exercise, you would have a ticket created. So as a business owner, you would now go to the ticketing module of this particular business and say, click on the tickets, and you would understand how many tickets are open from the business, how many tickets have been assigned to the user, in progress kitne hai, how many are completed, how many are reopened, so on and so forth. And you would understand from the fact that how many tickets once created, what is the TAT of completion and all. So this is like a basics of technology. I'll go back to my presentation where you talk about setting the internal things right. Is the lead management, account management, and the ticket management, which you are going to do here. Well, we all know it is just 30% of the game. But the next important game is to move yourself from 30 to 50% of the game. And to you be sitting at 50% of the game, the first and foremost thing that you need to do is set the communications right, or a communication streamline between you and your customer. If you look at from the angle of the communications, now the communication might happen between you and your customer regarding the policy. When I say policy, it can be a number of policy requests or discussions that are going to happen. Policy management and the communications related to the policy management, renewal reminders, claim management, TAT escalations. If the TAT is not, if you're looking out for documents to be submitted by your customer and they haven't submitted the documents, excuse me. If you're looking out for TAT to be submitted, you understand then automatically the communications have to be made. So if you can streamline all the communications that are happening between you and your customer, get streamlined to technology. It can be an endorsement, it can be a claim request, it can be a policy, it can be a renewal reminder, or it can be a TAT escalations. Any such communication that is happening between you and your customer, if you can be able to streamline that and ensure that you use technology for that aspect, you are at 50% of the game here. So let me move to what I mean by that. Let me go to this. If you are a broking company and you give this technology now to your end customer, they should be able to see and analyze their respective data right here on their screen and see on a real-time basis. Here is where I want to take the input back from Mr. Mohan. When he was talking about as a business, you can go here and try to add your employees, properties, infosec, requirements, suppliers, cyber, drone, inside, so on and so forth. As you keep adding the data, as you keep adding the details out here, the first and foremost thing is, let me go to the employee module to understand here. So I click on this, you go to the employee module, you should be able to upload the bulk upload the data or so. I'll just not spend time here, but let me go into the deep of it. You click on this. Now this is a particularly one employee of one business. And in this particular employee of a business, there is something called health profile. If you look at the health profile, based on what are the parameters that have been defined till now, and the weightage of these parameters, everything is organized, and end of the day, I would know based on the parameters or a self-assessment that is being taken by an employee, I would know he has scored 145 out of 230, which is the total. 230 is there, it is like a best guy. Now the total score or risk percentage is around 63% in total. So technically, this employee, the risk is around 63%. A group of such employees grouped together, there is a risk percentage on the dashboard. If you observe, the total risk percentage is being displayed here. And that risk percentage is what is shown on this particular gamut. When you are analyzing the data, if a customer goes inside, does his job of adding their own parameters, adding their everything, automatically the risk would be displayed out here. From the broking standpoint, I will add the journey of you right now. Say, for example, I go back to the account section out here. The moment you go to the account section, I was talking to you about, hey, if you are a new lead, from the new lead, you can actually deploy a dedicated server or a shared server for a business. The moment you deploy this, automatically your customer is going to get this kind of portal. As your customer gets this kind of portal, they themselves can go into this portal and try to add the employees or bulk upload the employees out here. So once they upload the employees through an Excel sheet, it can be just an email ID, which is a mandatory, rest everything can be taken as at the later time. All the employees will also get an access to this portal so that the employee can log into the journey portal and try to add their params or their basic details, and also the health profile details, and also the dependents that they want. Everything can be added out here. The moment this is all added by the employee, automatically you know that, okay, this particular business has, say, for example, 10 employees in total, and these 10 employees fall into multiple categories. As you are seeing there, excuse me. As you are seeing there are 5 in a decent shape and 1 in a rod. Another one is like a bad health conditions. So this risk to this thing will come, and based on this, the policies can be curated. And the policy, when it is curated, you can add that policy into the portfolio module, which we are going to give it to you. So the moment you add a policy in the portfolio module, that may be a group term insurance or employee benefit policies or group medical employment policies or so on, you can add them there, or policies can be curated and add it here. And you can click on the policy and say, hey, here are the employees who are attached to this particular policy. You can select all the employees and say, I want to attach these employees to this particular policy. And thus this policy will become equipped with these employees as well. And vice versa is also true. See, what is that we are trying to do is to streamline the entire journey of you, your customer, and their customer, like B to B to C. All the 3 levels of customers are getting empowered, and also at the same time, they get the technology that is required. What happens when they get the technology that is required for them is go to the employee module. I'll just give an example to you. Till now, you might be serving the GMC policy for this particular employee. But as I go into the system, and this is a default policy that I already got because of my employer. But now I want to go and buy something like a life insurance policy, which is again a curated version of it, or it can be a COVID policy, which might be an add-on policy that we want to take. So as an employee, they can just click here and say, these are the 4 policies that it is already there, select one and say, this is also added into my system. So technically what is happening is there can be an upsell on policies, there can be a cross-sell on policies, there can be analogy on policies that can happen, and all the things that we do here, every communication is completely streamlined, strategized, and it is already presented out here. It is not just about the employee module, it is also about the property risk module, which I say, you go to your customer and say, add all your properties out here. As you add properties out here, or the assets out here, each asset can go through the COPE form, which is like construction property details or occupancy details or production details or exposure details. The moment business fills in these details, they get sensitized on what is the kind of risk that this particular asset goes through, and that becomes a lead for you. So if you give this technology to either your prospect or to your, either your lead or your account, in both cases, if you give this to your lead, you would actually ensure the risk sensitization or risk analysis happening at a regular intervals for your customer, and you have their data with you. And after that, I don't have to give you the GAN on how you can approach the customer. You are the masters out there. But you have now the data to approach. It is like, a customer coming to you, you don't have to wait for them to become your customer. A lead can also be given this technology so that the data is added and you are fully equipped to convert that lead into an account in a much easier way. And there are multiple modules which we are curating and generating and keeping it for you here. If somebody comes and asks you for a cyber risk as a risk that they wanted to take, they can add their details, understand what is the risk profile that they wanted to add about that cyber risk, and eventually you have your details about the risk percentage and all. And based on that, your communication can happen. So like this, every profile of your customer can be captured out here and be analyzed for the better growth. Let me move back on to my presentation where you are now a 50% equipped with the technology, right? This is where we left our PPT and went back to the other ones. Now you talk about the 70%. I mentioned to you the risk sensitization. This is the most, as I mentioned, as Mr. Mohan was talking about you in our session now, risk sensitization. Don't try to oversell to the business. Make them sensitize of the risk that they are carrying. It can be a self-assessment tool, or as I mentioned to you, if you find a lead, you just throw this technology at them and say, hey, customer, or hey, lead, just add all the data like your employees, your assets, your everything out there. And this technology will risk sensitize the customer or a lead of yours on a continuous note. I would like to highlight the third point, which is like continuous monitoring. They might be not at the high risk right now, but they might be getting into the high risk as they move from one stage to other. I'll give an example. There are some riots happening in a particular location. So till that moment, they are not in a risk, but as the riots are happening, automatically that asset gets into the high risk zone. So technically there is a continuous monitoring, and the moment system monitors that there is a risk that is going to for the property or the employee or so on and so forth, automatically the communication to happen from the system saying that, hey, customer, your risk is getting higher because of some riots happening at this place, or maybe there are some climatic changes. This is a risk that is you might be pursuing, and so be aware of that risk and ensure that you take the adequate policies for that. So technically, by ensuring the tech stack has been enabled right from the lead level to your account level and have this risk sensitization as a key focus area for you, you are now at 70% tech enabled, or I would say 70%. Once again, you are at 70% tech enabled and you are 70% on the top of the business. Of course, I don't want to miss this opportunity to say what makes you a superpower. The superpower is all in your head right now. You throw out an idea. So if you are facing a problem in terms of, I might see this as a gap in our journey, or you might, because you guys are on the ground, you might understand from an angle of how the system can perform, or how there can be a tweak in the workflow. There can be a tweak in this entire ecosystem that can you bring into the table. We at IIRM, incubated at IIRM, we are very happy to understand your idea and make your idea to work in the system. And of course, the experts are monitoring your idea, and you will get the fantastic and expert advice over your idea and have the tech incubated for that. So this is where the democratizing and the step-by-step approach to make it to the top will yield you in the journey. That's where I would like to pause myself, and thank you for the time being given for this entire presentation. Over to the question and answers to you, Bharat.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And we had an esteemed panel of speakers today. Mr. Suresh Mathur ji, Chairman at IIRM, Mr. Mohan ji, who is a principal at IIRM, and Mrs. Preeti, who is has spent a lot of time in her career in the insurance industry, and Mr. Ramakupa, who is the founder and CEO at GoSure. Now, the next segment is the question and answers. We had requested people to post their questions on the chat box, just to prevent a lot of people speaking at the same time. We have a couple of questions and observations. What I will do is I will read out the questions, and I would request any of the panel members to take them as they see appropriate. The first question came from Mr. Pankaj. He says, IRDAI has made a broker and an agent on same platform, and even insurers support agents. In such a case, how does a broker survive? Over to you, panel members.
Yeah, actually, our chairman's view is to have an open architecture, as it has been in the other jurisdictions. But the level of competence of a broker and a level of competence of an agent is different. And I think the broker channel, which was initially for the corporates, it will remain, and only brokers will be able to do it. So by becoming more competent, by becoming more tech savvy, you will have an edge over other channels, and you will continue to do so. So this is my submission at this point in time, and we can work on this on some more issues if you wish to add something.
I just would like to add one point, is that brokers are more customer centric because they come from the customer's point of view. They understand their customers much more. So frankly, and they may be, the question may be absolutely right, but as I see it, the more knowledge and depth about the customer's needs and demands would be much more in brokers' favor. I would like to ask Mr. Mohan to give his point of view, because I think he's most, the right person to do that.
No, I think let's, while you're saying IRDA has made all are equal, I think one need to not buy such kind of an argument. Because brokers have their own space, they have their own business and their own way of customer bases. The only equality which they have seen, they may be in the commission structure or something, which will not make too much of a difference as far as finalization of some of the thoughts are being happening. But definitely a broker, I mean, who has much more wherewithal of in comparison with an insurance agent, will be able to deliver a better service, will be able to do a better understanding of the risk, and also be able to offer or the bridge between the insurance and the company and the customer. So this is where I think a broker has to start believing himself more, rather than just because there is a change in some paradigm or in terms of understanding, the whole business is not going to lose. I mean, I think that's where we need to. I think the more you assert, even your agents will start queuing up with the brokers and trying to help the brokers.
Last point I would like to add here that practically, if you look at all the agents have 2-3 agencies with them, and they are offering products of different insurance companies. So not much, I don't see much of a difference, and brokers will continue to have the biggest market share of the business, contributing to the general insurance space in the general.
Thank you for taking that question. We have another question. It's not a question, but more of a comment. I would request panel members to throw light on this. It has come from Mr. Rajesh. He says, POS model was introduced to increase penetration, but restriction of business through these POS is a hindrance on the said path.
Yeah, this POS was introduced to increase the penetration of insurance business, but the training requirements of POS is very limited, and in the financial sector, whoever is selling, all the intermediaries have to go through a particular training and examination. So for POS, it is very limited. That's why the scope of selling the products has been limited for them. But in the times to come, we can have a relook at it. That's what I would say.
All is meant for the penetration, the rural business and the rural ticket business, not the commercial line and the.
That's right.
Yeah. So POS was introduced basically for rural business and for small ticket size policies. And the focus was not on commercial business in case of POS. So that's how the intention was when it was introduced.
So the next question comes from Mr. Chintan. What is asked is how rationalization of commission will not make difference. Cost of business maintenance for agent or corporate agent or broker have. That is a question from Mr. Bipul.
The rationalization of commission, as I'm saying, the proposal by the regulator, which is still to go through the parliament, is to bring one limit for expenses of management. So once this limit is that limit is there, then the commission limit on the agency commission and brokerage will go, and the insurers and the intermediaries will sit down and they will decide what brokerage or commission should be given on particular business. So if good business is there, you get more commission. If business is not that good, you may not get that good business. So the limit which is imposed by the regulator on the agency commission and brokerage will go. So it is up to you how you take it. So the limit will go. That's the proposal. It is in the proposal stage, and let us see how it goes.
Idea is to keep the combined ratio at the right level. So, if the claims ratio is poor, then automatically,
the insurer will have more flexibility in deciding to whom to give more commission and to whom to give not. If the business is not good, the quality of business is not good, the commission can be reduced.
Thank you, Surajji. The next question comes from Mr. Bipul. He asks, do we expect ease in e-commerce guidelines for enabling tech-enabled portal for B2B2C business?
Yes, that ease of doing business is certainly being introduced, and the definition of insurance is going to be changed, which will include the wellness companies and also the fintech companies. So that will ensure that these things will get more prominence and yes.
No, I think this is absolutely right. I think there will be democratization of technology or e-commerce by introducing step-by-step changes. I think it's a long way to go. It's a journey. The first few steps are already being mooted. Do you want to say something?
No, I think it's very simple. I mean, e-commerce has taken root in all businesses.
Yes.
So therefore, it's also insurance also will have to adapt those parameters of how to conduct the business. So definitely it will ease, and there is no other go for us than to adapt and absorb the e-commerce model in our entire activity and business processes, so that we start moving ahead in this market and the ecosystem. Definitely.
Thank you. There is a comment. This is not a question from Mr. Srinivas. He says, a view to technology and people. Man has invented technology, but technology is yet to invent a man. So the human intervention with technology will be the winning combination, particularly in dealing with MSME customers who need the best of both worlds. I think that summarizes our session today.
Yeah.
And what I request today is all the panelists maybe one or two key takeaways for the participants. Whichever order you would like to go. One or two key takeaways for the participants.
Let me start from the tech angle. Thanks to Mr. Srinivas who has put in that comment into the system. As you rightly mentioned, sir, point number one, it needs technology and man to be coexisting in this game to make things much better for the world. So as you rightly mentioned again here, dealing with an MSME customers need more and more technology that needs to be there. MSME is one market is completely ignored because of two reasons. One, your operational challenges, and two, the cost of reaching to the customer itself is high. So technically, two reasons: the cost of acquiring, CAC, customer acquisition cost, and two, customer maintenance cost. The focus of today's session from the technology angle is to give the technology, democratize the technology, and give this to every broker to ensure your CAC, customer acquisition cost, and the customer maintenance cost goes down significantly, and ensure that we are in line with Mr. Chairman's vision to multi-fold and have a greater penetration in the Indian market. Over to.
Yeah. I'd like to just add one key takeaway that I took from Mr. Mohan's communication. He talked about technology. We all spoke about, and it's a given that that's a need. But what was very, very critical was whether it's the customer's requirements or whether it's the risk parameterization of a customer, the personalization angle of a customer, so that not everybody is treated in one sweepstake and every single customer archetype is treated differently and hence profiled for differently. I thought that was a very, very important point. And if we were to look at it, I think customer stickiness will go. And that is what I call customer centricity, which is coming into the world. And that is what brokers represent. Frankly, that is the key difference between in the first question, difference between brokers and agencies. They can never have a level playing field because brokers are customer centric. And that's their USP. And that should be maintained.
From my side, the reforms which have been initiated at the regulators are basically focused at enabling technology for improving, increasing penetration and reach, and also improving servicing to the customers and reducing the tax. Also the definition of insurance, which is likely to be changed, will include more fintech and these technological products and companies, and that will enable technology to facilitate the insurance business and increase in the insurance business. Also for particularly for the brokers, the one limit on the expenses of management will also help and increase the role of brokers in the times to come. So these are the takeaways from my side.
I think let me conclude in this overall webinar in terms of what is the key takeaway. I think if everybody has got the key point is business comes as far as insurance is concerned on two counts. One, whether we have sensitized the customer regarding risks. Second, have we customized it? Both these areas, you have technology which will help you to do that. His own assessment of risk can be done through technology or a tool which will help him to understand, because today anybody and everybody, they believe technology. I mean, there was a comment about man and technology and vice versa. But fortunately, unfortunately, as on date, man believes technology more than himself. So this is where we need to see that how do we come out of this little gamut of issues and then project technology for betterment of the human mankind. Second, like I think this Jack Ma has actually mentioned earlier, the future is in customization. We cannot have blanket products, impossible. Yeah. You will never grow in any business. So how do you customize? It can today, if you see a very simple example of online e-commerce, somebody was posing a question on e-commerce, and e-commerce grew because of customization. Nothing more than that. Because individual requirements, individual thing, if they start addressing them, business is there everywhere. So I think this is what we need to see on the brokers. Now they can see what opportunities they have in the ecosystem thrown up by the IRDA with all their reforms and things like that, and use technology to seize every opportunity for their own betterment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, panelists. And we have one question that has just come in. Probably Mr. Rama can take this. It has come from Mr. Lalatendu Mishra. He asks, the application that was demoed today, will it be extended to brokers at a price or no price to enable better business?
Okay, to put it directly to Mr. Mishra and everybody, it's a fantastic question again. Thanks for bringing it up. There would be a cost for the technology. There will be a cost for maintenance of technology and ensuring that it reaches you and your customers. So it is called something called SaaS cost. We wanted to make it more adoptable or affordable to the brokers. So technically the cost would be in the form of SaaS, which is called software as a service. So based on your usage, there would be a cost associated with it.
Do you want to specify that SaaS for those who don't get it? Everybody gets it? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mishra.
Thank you, Mr. Rama. And we don't have any further questions. I mean, please feel free to post questions either on the chat box, or we have a dedicated mail created for this specific group. Please note it down. It is IIRM@GoSure.AI. We will be typing in the chat box. You can note it down. And in the brochure, the invitation also, the email ID is there. There are a couple of contact numbers. Feel free to reach out to anybody. And we also request you to post your suggestions, feedbacks on the mail ID. Please feel free to reach out to us one-to-one. And today we had a fantastic participation. We had more than 100 plus people who attended the session. We also had not only a Zoom link, but an YouTube link that was on, and there were quite a number of people that attended. Fantastic participation. Thank you so much for joining with us today. And before I close today's session, I request Mr. Suresh Mathur, Chairman at IIRM, MD at IIRM, to please share his vote of thanks.
I thank firstly all the participants which made this webinar possible, and I thank the GoSure team who has made all the arrangements and have I would also like to thank President of the Broker Association who has accepted my request and have circulated this about the webinar information to all their members. And I request our IIRM also team to thank our IIRM team also who have made this possible, particularly we are all sitting at one place and able to deliver everything as a team to all of you. So thank you everyone for participation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, once again for participating in today's session. And there will be a series of such webinars we plan to conduct. And please feel free to suggest any topics that you want us to cover in the upcoming sessions. The mail ID dedicated for this initiative is mentioned in the chat group. And with that, we come to end of today's session, and wish you a fantastic day ahead. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.